What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm back with another video. This time once again, we're going to be talking about the modern NBA and some of its big time problems. And first up, I want to state, I'm a huge fan of the modern NBA and the superstars it's given us, guys like Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and countless other superstars. And all those guys are great talents, and I think the NBA today, their talent pool, is possibly larger than it's ever been. But with that being said, I think the NBA still has some big time problems that they desperately need to fix. And as a lifelong NBA fan, watching the game today in 2021 leaves a lot to be desired. So in this video, I'm basically going to complain for 10 to 12 minutes and show you guys how I think the modern NBA could drastically improve. So the first thing you have to talk about for the modern NBA is the lack of defense. And old school NBA fans absolutely despise today's defenders. But to be fair to the modern day players, the game today is very different than it was in the 90s or even the 2010s.
Did I get you, dog?
Hell no, baby. That was clean. Good D. Right?
With that being said, defense today is absolutely unwatchable. On a nightly basis, you see players getting very little, if any, effort on the defensive end. And if I was them, I'd probably be the exact same way, as in today's league, offensive players are so much more valued than defensive players, especially when it comes to referees and the overall rulebook. I mean, in today's league, when you play defense, you're basically shadowboxing the offensive player, as you can't make any contact in the perimeter, and in the post, there's very little if any contact allowed. And I think one of my big time problems comes with the contesting shots, as defenders have to be extremely careful not to even lay a finger on the offensive player. And if I was commissioner for a day, the first thing I would do is bring back a semi-hand check. Not a full hand check, but something along the lines of the 1990s or the early 2000s. And when it comes to post defenders, I would allow those players to armbar the player and be more physical on the block, once again similar to the 1990s or the early 2000s. And last thing I would change has to deal with shooters. When you contest shots, you can't go full Zaza, but you can still contest the players and at least get in their airspace somewhat. You can't get underneath them, but still you can make them very uncomfortable. You can at least get in their face and make it somewhat different than a spot-up wide-open jump shot. And I think if you wanted the perfect blueprint of what the modern NBA should be, a perfect balance of offense and defense, I would look to the mid-90s, late 2000s, and the early 2010s. I would say from 94-98 and from 08 to 2014, that was the best overall basketball we've ever had from an overall balance standpoint of offense and defense. You're allowed to be physical, you could rough players up, the scoring in games was rarely over 100 points, and there were barely any teams taking over 23s. I think those time periods and that balance is perfect for the modern NBA, and going forward, we should adopt more of the old school rules and make the game more entertaining for both the offense as well as the defense. As in 2021, teams are putting up 112.1 points per game. That is the most in the modern era and the most since 1970. So when it comes to offense and defense, something has to change, and the defense has to be empowered by the commissioner as well as the rulebook. Now speaking of rules, one of my big time problems in the modern NBA is the refs and how they call the games.
Foul! No, 2 fouls.
Foul? I didn't touch anybody!
Look, Jackie, people can't just go flying in the air like that.
Oh, please, my mom wouldn't cheat in my dreams.
These refs in the modern NBA have absolutely no backbone and no spine. When it comes to confronting players, you can actually watch games where a player can single-handedly overturn a call simply by yelling and complaining. And I think the complaining in today's league totally turns some fans off, as back in the day, yes, players would complain, but it wasn't every single play for 48 minutes on end. I think in today's league, the complaining has gotten out of control, and the refs have to have some power in today's game. Now also one thing I noticed over the years in the modern NBA is that refs hand out text like they're candy. And I think technical fouls, yes, they're a part of the game, but I think these refs have to have thicker skin for the players, and in return the players have to complain less. Now my next critique for the modern NBA kind of goes hand in hand with refs, and that is the amount of replays and how long they take. and the last 2 minutes of a game should be almost sacred and be the most pure basketball you could have. But in today's league, there are tons of stoppages, replays, reviews, challenges. It's so choppy, there's no rhythm to the end of these games, and it kills an otherwise very good product. Now, also one thing in the modern NBA that I find particularly annoying is the lack of playstyle and variety for these teams. In 2021 teams simply jack up 33s and call it a night.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good. What play should I call now? Maybe corner three!
He's hot. He is hot. Keep feeding that guy.
Hi, nice to meet you. Can I have that? Hang out over here for a second. Corner three!
You gotta get out there, Cleveland.
And for younger NBA fans, this was not always the case for basketball. If I go back only 10 years ago to 2010, the teams you had in the league all had their own different play style. You had LeBron's Cavs, the Big Three Celtics, Kobe's Lakers, Steve Nash's Suns, Dwight's Magic, and Duncan's Spurs. All those teams had their own unique style of basketball, and it made the game so much more entertaining. Look around today's NBA, it's basically a copy and paste of the 2016 Warriors. The sad thing is, all those teams are not the 2016 Warriors, and the basketball they play is not nearly as good. So taking 35 threes a game, in my opinion, is not an offense, and the lack of variety in today's NBA once again makes the product less enjoyable and less watchable. And speaking of those 3-pointers, since 2016, every single year teams have taken 25 plus threes, and since 2016, the record for threes taken has been broken every single year. And now in 2021, teams take 34.6 threes per game. That is 40% of their shot attempts. In 2011, that number was only 22%, in 2001 it was 17%, and 1991 it was only 8%. So in the last 5 to 7 years, the NBA has completely changed, and 3-pointers now dominate the entire league, and all their teams' playstyles are relatively the same. Now, also one of my big time complaints in the modern NBA is players changing teams and forming super teams. And this take right here may be unpopular, but it's my own personal opinion. I very much prefer the old NBA, where GMs and players build their team from the ground up and made them championship contenders. I think in today's league, the championships, to a certain extent, are cheapened when it comes to building super teams through free agency as well as collusion. And I think Giannis winning the championship this year showed people once again that winning a championship organically and staying with your team is way more valuable than leaving that team and building a super team.
Like, it's easy to go somewhere and go and win a championship with somebody else. It's easy. I could go, I don't put anybody in the spot, but I could go to a super team and, just do my part and win a championship, still one. But this is the hard way to do it, and this is the way I chose to do it. And we did it. Fucking did it.
And one of the big side effects I see from players building teams is that players in today's league don't have the same rivalries they once had. I mean, what is the best rivalry in today's NBA? Is it Nets versus Lakers, LeBron versus KD, Steph versus LeBron? I mean, right now in the NBA, there is no big-time rivalry, and we desperately need that going forward. And I would even argue the KD versus LeBron rivalry is one of the worst rivalries in NBA history, and it's very rarely been entertaining. So going forward in the NBA, I hope guys like Giannis and Luka, as well as Steph Curry, stay with their teams for a long period of time. I hope they build rivalries, as well as championship caliber teams. Now, my last complaint for the modern NBA is kind of a fun one, and that's to deal with the All-Star Game weekend, specifically the All-Star Game and some of its events. And the first thing I would change for this weekend is I would implement a 1v1 tournament or a King of the Court style 1v1. Imagine seeing Dame Lillard play one-on-one versus Steph Curry or Kyrie Irving versus Kevin Durant. The possibilities are endless, and it would be extremely entertaining to see the best ball handlers, the most skilled players, square off in a 1v1 to be crowned the best ISO player in the NBA. And I think that event will be way more powerful than the All-Star Game, as well as the dunk contest, or even the skills challenge. A 1v1 tournament will be extremely entertaining for fan value, and I think it will make the All-Star Game weekend 10 times better. And that right there is my last complaint with the modern NBA. And I know for this video, I came off as a grumpy old man.
Oh, get off my lawn! Oh, trespasser! Do you want to be eaten alive?
But please hear me out for this video. I'm only critiquing the NBA because I want it to be better. I want the product for the fans to be better. I want the playstyle for the players to also be better. And I think for today's league, we have tons of talent. We have to maximize that talent and put it on a full display with the best possible rules, the best possible refs, and the best possible atmosphere for the NBA's overall success and growth. So with that being said, let me know your guys' thoughts. How do you think the NBA could improve? What's bad about it? What's good? What could drastically improve? Let me know your guys' thoughts. And as always, thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.